Hello, 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 world. How's everybody? I'm Louise Hicks, the Mad Black Woman, and that's for motivated and determined to help and support my people, Black people, to a higher level of consciousness. Today I thought I would come in and talk a little bit about Black history because of something that popped up in my feed and is throwback in the years. Something that was on 60 Minutes. And in fact, I saw 60 Minutes when this was on about 15 years ago, when I was about, I guess, 56, 57, maybe 58, because I'm about to be 73 now in a couple of weeks or so. But anyhow, I thought I would come in and just talk a little bit about Black history because of what I saw on 60 Minutes about 15 years ago. And it's popping up now because it's February and it's Black History Month. And some people believe that we shouldn't be thinking about it as because it's the shortest month that was chosen. And this man here, Carter G. Woodson, is the one that I guess you could say coined or created February for Black History Month because he felt that uh, our contributions to this country were not even thought about. A lot of our contributions were even stolen. And he felt the need to bring forth some of those contributions. And I don't find a problem with it. Even though it's the shortest month of the year, that doesn't bother me because I believe in Black history every day of the week and every day of the year, 365. And when there's a leap year, I guess it's 366. However, this man, Carter G. Woodson, is the one that got Black History Month started. And he wrote this book, The Miseducation of the Negro. And there are a lot of Negroes out here that are miseducated, believe it or not, in the 21st century, 2024. A lot of us are miseducated because we don't read, we don't do our due diligence, we are programmed, and it's all by design to keep you just what he said, the miseducation of the Negro. And that's exactly what it's all about. And some people say, oh, yeah, I don't care nothing about any Black History Month. Well, it's not so much the caring about Black History Month, it's about honoring the contributions of our ancestors. And this happens to be the chosen month that Dr. Carter G. Woodson chose to enlighten us on the contributions of Black people in this country, Black people who built this country through blood, sweat, and tears, being beaten, all of the atrocities that they suffered building America. And I know a lot of white supremacists or unrighteous people, they would love what I'm about to show you now. I'm sure they did love it back in the day when it was shown on 60 Minutes. So let me go ahead and share this little clip with you, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more because I'm not going to be in here long. But again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, where I come in usually once a week on Sundays and share information with you. I come in sometimes on weekdays as well. Let me give you a little background in case some of you may not have seen me or know who I am. I did a podcast in California. I would go into the studio with my son, Kenan Wesley Mason, who has his own podcast, excuse me, the Kinetic Hour. And we would talk about various subject matters, and we spoke to different people all over the world. It was great because we had that opportunity. People in America, people in Brazil, people in South Africa, people in the UK, people in Canada. I mean, we spoke with all walks of life, attorneys, doctors, authors, uh, ordinary people like myself. And my goal um, after that podcast, starting this podcast in January of 2022, was to bring my people to a higher level of consciousness. And I know there are others out here doing the same thing. And I just decided, seeing all this toxic behavior from us on social media, which was so ridiculous. That's what I call ridiculous. And I heard the word ridiculous in what I'm about to share with you, but I call that ridiculous because we should be loving ourselves and loving one another and connecting the dots and uniting in love, uniting in power. This is what we should be doing. And that's not happening. And it's all by design. I'm telling you, it's by design. So, I'm also an award-winning author. I'm a motivational speaker. I am an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, have my own consulting business where I implemented, I work with tradesmen, implementing scheduling systems, so forth. I'm working with a plumber now who is just growing by leaps and bounds, a Black business owner in California, Perfect Flow Plumbing owner, Camille Flowers, young Black man, just doing his thing and elevating and elevating and elevating. So, with that said, let me share this little clip with you. And as I said, it's Black History Month, and I'm going to throw back into some years prior, at least about 15 years. So, give me a moment here, and I'm going to share this with you and speak on it a little bit more. So, here we go.
Black History Month you find
ridiculous.
why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a Black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
Okay, let's stop it because it was just a little short with Morgan Freeman talking to Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes 15 years ago. And I saw that because I used to watch 60 Minutes quite often. Don't watch much TV now because I'm busy doing other things, elevation, as I said, of my community to a higher level of consciousness, as well as taking care of my son and so forth. My son, who has challenges due to having cancer at the age of 14, who is now 42. But when this clip came out, this interview with Morgan Freeman, I was about 50, I guess 57, somewhere back then. And he must have been about what my age is now, because I'm about to be 73 in a couple of weeks. And I think he probably would have been 71, 72 back 15 years ago because he's 86 now. Now, let's think about this. This Carter G. Woodson that I just shared with you is the one that decided we should have a Black History Month so that we could profile and share with each of us and others our history, because otherwise it would not be shared. And the same is going on now. Look at what's going on in Florida. They want to erase our history. So we need to know our history. Mr. Morgan Freeman, you are a great actor, and I love your acting. However, if you think it's ridiculous, that's fine because you have that right to think that as an individual. However, there are lots of people who do not think it's ridiculous because we need to know our history. However, We need to teach our children our history every day of the year. And for those who probably are just gloating over what you're saying, it's ridiculous. I'm sure that it makes them happy to hear you say that. I'm sure. And that's okay. That's their prerogative as well. However, what you said is to get rid of racism, to stop talking about it. Now, that is ridiculous to stop talking about it. How can you stop talking about something that's going on every day of our lives? And I'm speaking from knowing what I'm talking about, experience, not only myself, but my environment, my surrounding. And you're saying, stop talking about it? If the actions were not there, nobody would be talking about it. If slavery had never existed, nobody would be talking about it. If the Constitution didn't deem us as three-fifths of a person, nobody would be talking about it. If we were treated equally and fairly when we were brought over here involuntarily, nobody would be talking about it. So why are you saying stop talking about it when it's still happening today? And I can attest to that because I'm living it every day of my life. And I can tell you some things that will help you to understand. And I'm a highly intelligent Black woman. And I'm not saying that because I have a bachelor's degree in social work, but I have common sense, Mr. Morgan Freeman. All due respect to you, who is embarking upon about to be 87, I believe, this at this point in your life. And Carter G. Woodson was born in 1875, if I'm not mistaken, and died in 1950. So this man lived something also that inspired him to take some time out to celebrate our contributions. And I think that's commendable of his part. And I don't think it's ridiculous that this man chose to do that. And just because somebody else is not celebrating there, like Mr. Wallace said, he's Jewish and he doesn't need one, perhaps he doesn't. And I can say this part, he has not gone through almost 500 years of various atrocities that at this time is just a different template. But the shackles are not there, but the invisible scars are still there. The trauma is still there. So this man hit the nail on the head when he said the miseducation of the Negro, because that is what is happening. And I'm sure there are so many that would love for us to forget our history, but nobody ever tells anybody else to forget their history when they talk about it. And some of these histories did not occur on American soil. But you want us to stop talking about it? Well, Mr. Morgan Freeman, if it never happened in this country, all of the atrocities that happened during slavery, after slavery, during Jim Crow, up to this current day, we could stop talking about it. So how are you going to stop talking about something when the actions are still there? Does that make sense? Not to me. So, and we talk about a colorblind society. We don't live in a colorblind society. If we did, we wouldn't have all the racial hatred, this divided, how divided this country is. And the root cause of all this division. And when this aired there on 60 Minutes about 15 years ago, it had over 12 million views. And those people that I read some of the comments, because like I said, this is throwback in the years because we are celebrating Black history this month. However, I believe in celebrating our Black history every day of the year, every day. not just 1 month. However, the 1 month is was set aside and created, established by Dr. Carter G. Woodson to highlight and to bring forth the contributions that some of these people would love to hide. They'd love to see us wiped off the face of the earth. And that's embedded in psychiatry because they believe that our dark skin is a disease. And this, we're talking recently. I did a piece on my podcast about a psychiatrist who was looking at a Black model, and because of her skin color, she had a disease. And this came from psychiatry, and I'm going to be doing more on mental health as well. But I just thought that was so, it just popped up in my feed, and I said, oh, I got to talk about this because it is ridiculous that we have to keep talking about it because it's still existing. So what do you think about that, Mr. Morgan Freeman? And if you choose not to honor your ancestors, that's on you. However, there are Black people out here who believe that it's a good thing to honor our people. However, it should be every day. I hear where you're coming from on that part, but don't tell us that to end racism is to stop talking about it. That is utterly ridiculous. And the other thing I want to say, a lot of us, we look at these actors who are out here in Hollywood and we start to listen to some of the things they say, and they're not our leaders, nor are these rappers and so forth that are out here talking all of this negativity about killing up one another, drugging, taking the drugs, talking about women, calling us out of our name. They don't call any other women out of their name, or only Black women, because the people that are behind them, they won't allow it. And this is their bread and butter. If you heard, I believe his name is, I'm trying to think of the man's name. He was on the Breakfast Club, a Jewish man, producer, record producer. Leo Cohen, that's his name, I'm pretty sure. He said that it's a business for him, so he doesn't care about these rappers out here calling us out of our name, encouraging drug abuse in our community, and uh, encouraging us to kill up one another. Of course they don't care, but they don't tell you to talk about their women. So we gotta stop and start using our critical thinking skills and start using a renewing of our minds. And that's what we should be talking about doing this month, actually, that Dr. Carter G. Woodson chose to highlight the contributions of our ancestors, which I think is a great thing. However, like I said, we should be teaching our children our history 365 days of the year. That's what we should be doing. And when Dr. King came out and spoke, I have a dream, we definitely should put that dream into action with vision, hope, faith, knowledge, and action to move us to read more. Make 2024 a year of reading our history, teaching our children so that we can elevate ourselves to a higher level of consciousness. Because I'm a baby boomer. I don't know, Morgan Freeman may not be a baby boomer. Maybe he's probably one of the silent generation. I'll have to look up and see what year the silent generation was, because maybe he's from that generation, the silent generation. Maybe that's why he's thinking the way he thinks, because believe me, the era in which you were born really does parallel your thinking. And a lot of the behaviors that some of our young people are exhibiting now does have to do with what's going on in the environment. And all of this stuff is by design to keep us thinking as second-class citizens. And that's sad. And I'm so happy to hear that a lot of our Gen Xers, not a lot, I guess, but some of our Gen Xers and our millennials have a different thought process, particularly when it comes to politics too. They're not out here promoting these Democrats, when you run, and I call them Democrats, but they call themselves Democrats. And I look at both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, as one snake with two heads, one blue head, one red. And that's why would you go out here and vote for somebody that, excuse me, tells you like Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And that came from his mouth. And Kamala Harris saying this is not a racist country. And I noticed on Roland Martin's podcast, he was highlighting Nikki Haley and what she had to say about this is not a racist country. It's not a racist country, Nikki Haley, but your brains are really out there in left field because you contradicted yourself. You said it's not a racist country, it never has been, but then you turn around and say how you were discriminated against. Tim Scott, another one. And Roland Martin, you didn't bring out your girl, Kamala Harris. She said the same thing, but you highlighted Nikki Haley and you highlighted Tim Scott. Why you didn't highlight this Democrat, Kamala Harris? She said the same thing, that America is not a racist country. So I think that's a little hypocritical on your part, Roland Martin. It's a lot hypocritical, actually. So we have to be careful and guard our minds against all of this programming in a negative way to distract us from what we should be focusing on. So Morgan Freeman and all you other Hollywood actors and actresses, you're not our leaders when you go out and you speak this type of rhetoric. You're not our leaders. And if you choose not to celebrate, that's fine. That's your prerogative. You have every right to. And I know you're pleasing a lot of people, Morgan Freeman, when you speak like that, particularly white supremacists. They love it to hear Black people speak the way you're speaking. They love it. But righteous-minded people, they have more common sense and a different perspective because of how you going to stop talking about something that's is an actionable everyday actionable behavior every day of your life, like people going to work traumatized. I know what I'm talking about. I've been there, done that, seen it, lived it, still living it. So Morgan, I'm telling you, I hope you get some senses. I don't know what's going on. 15 years ago, I guess you would have been in your 70s, about my age, but your mind and your thinking was totally different than my mind and my thinking when I was 56 or 57 back then when you were talking that, because I remember you saying it. I saw 60 Minutes. And with that said, excuse me, I just had to come in and just do a throwback in the years because I thought that was such ridiculous for you to say, stop talking about it, when Black people are living it and all the atrocities that Black people have suffered and still suffering in this country. And you want us to stop talking about it. I bet you won't tell Jewish people to stop talking about the Holocaust, will you? Because if you did, you'd probably get in trouble like The View, like she got into trouble on The View, Whoopi Goldberg. So I bet you won't do that. But we allow everybody else to just talk about us and tell us how we should be thinking. And we make them feel comfortable because of ridiculous stuff like what you just said, Morgan Freeman. You want to make other people comfortable, but they don't care how uncomfortable we are. Just like down there in Florida, they want to make, and not just Florida, here in Texas too, make their children comfortable, but make our children uncomfortable in school. And I'm not buying into that because we have to stand up and let everyone know We're not second-class citizens, in spite of what you wrote in your Constitution, that we are three-fifths of a person. Now, you want to talk about that, Morgan Freeman? You talk about that and tell me what you need to do is ask them to go fix the Constitution. Why not do that? Because we're not three-fifths of a person. We're whole people. Do I look like a three-fifths of a person? No. So we got to teach our children our history, and we should highlight it, because this Black man here thought enough of us to write a book called The Miseducation of the Negro. And he wanted to celebrate his ancestors back when he was coming up in this society, because he knew that was the only way that our history would be highlighted for all the contributions we've done, and many of those contributions stolen, just stolen from us, because we are a brilliant melanated people. There are a lot of inappropriate behaviors, I have to say, but where did it come from? Where did it come from? Why? The root cause of it is slavery. And if it was no slavery, we wouldn't be talking about it. And we're still, it's by design still to keep us like a second-class citizen. And I'm one of these people. I'm going to tell you what I do, Morgan Freeman. I speak up and I speak out. And I'm going to tell you why I speak up and I speak out. Because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully and wonderfully made. And again, I am Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. This mad Black woman, and that is for motivated and determined to help support and elevate my people to a higher level of consciousness, so that we can connect the dots and come together in unity, loving self and loving one another and doing the right thing. And I want to tell you something, Morgan Freeman. You're sitting there with Mr. Wallace, a white man that I knew told me this. And he said, "You haven't heard this from me, so I will never divulge who he is." However, he said that what I just said, by design, the white supremacists, you know what their agenda is? And that's been proven by Margaret Sanger. If you don't know anything about her, going around in the Black churches and the Black ministers allowing her to come in there to help us with genocide on us. He said that the white supremacist agenda is power, conquer, control, and kill us. And this came from a white person, not a Mike Wallace that's sitting there in your chair, in his chair, and you're sitting in your chair, and he's listening to you, and all of these white supremacists across the world, oh, they love it. They're eating that up, what you said. But Black intelligent people are not eating it up. Black social media is bringing more awareness to our Black people, our Black community, to help us to a higher level of consciousness. And I'm just doing a master class, just finished it, and I'm going to be doing a boot camp about life management, relationships, mental health, finances, and business, because those are the things that we need to learn about. And during this Black History Month, I'm so happy to see people standing up, standing tall in Chicago, New York, and these other states, that they're bringing all of these migrants into on our tax dollar. And when we have all these homeless Black people out here, and you're saying, don't talk about it? How can you not talk about it when you see it every day? And we're supposed to sit back and digest this injustice to Black people? No, Morgan Freeman. And all of you other actors out there in Hollywood that's afraid to speak up, and you speak what they want to hear, because that's what you speak. And I don't buy into that Hollywood mentality, not at all. And we need to continue, those of us who are out here teaching, like Dr. Claude Anderson, who wrote the book, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, Dirty Little Secrets They Don't Want You to Know. I have all of his books. I have all of them. And the people out here that's, what do you call them? Pawns and just pawns, like the Candace Owens out here, about 35 years of age. And I'm going to do a video on her, how she's sitting up and talking about her values. And she's sitting up in with surrounded with some alcohol and smoke blown all in her face and everything. But she talks about values. What kind of value is that when you're sitting around with these people? Nothing but, I believe they're all white men. And she's talking about, and they're blowing smoke all over and probably laughing at her instead of with her. They're probably laughing at her. Candace Owens, and she has a lot of followers too. They love her because she spews all of this negativity about Black people, but she never has anything to back it up. So I'll be doing a podcast about her too, because she kept popping up in my feed. And so I guess these people are popping up in my feed. 2024 must be the year to speak up and speak more and speak louder, Black people, because we're elevating ourselves through Black social media to a higher level of consciousness. And that's what we got to do. We got to keep doing it, bringing us together, regardless of the powers that shouldn't be, who want to conquer us, control us, and kill us. So we not only going to use Black History Month to highlight our ancestors, we're going to use 365 days of the year. And this year being a leap year, we have an extra day to talk about our Black history. Absolutely. So, Mr. Morgan Freeman, with all due respect to you, I I know what you're saying. However, we have to talk about it, because stop talking about it is not going to stop racism. And I thought you would have enough common sense to know that. I'm about your age when you said that. And I have enough common sense to know better. But if you wanted to make Mike Wallace feel comfortable sitting there in the seat and happy that you won 60 Minutes, I guess that's what you do. So be it. But anyhow, thank you, Carter G. Woodson, for what you did. And you were born back in 18, I think I said 75 or somewhere back then, died 1950. Thank you for highlighting the contributions of our people that were massive, and a lot of it stolen. We thank you for that. With that said, again, I am Louise Hicks, the host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. My website is www.louisehicks.com. My YouTube channel, subscribe, Aim to Purpose Radio, AIMED number 2, Purpose Radio. And always remember, vision, hope, faith, knowledge, and take action. And do your due diligence. Read, follow people that are enlightening you. All of this nonsense and foolishness, I know a lot of you follow it because you love it. However, it's not helping you, because if you think about it, if you keep on that track, about 25 years from now, Black people will have a zero net worth. 2050, 2051, 52, 53. We got to get away from that mentality, that enslaved Willie Lynch syndrome that Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about. Too many of us, we need healing because we're traumatized, and it all stems back to slavery. And we have to talk about it, Morgan. We must talk about it. Putting your head in the sand like all these atrocities didn't happen, the rapes, the hangings, and it's still happening. This is not just from back in slavery. This stuff is still happening. There was some hangings out in California, I think, during the pandemic. of Black men. And don't forget the Black man that was dragged to death here in Texas, Jasper, Texas, a few years ago. So how can you not talk about all of this stuff that's still happening? I mean, I could talk about a lot of stuff that I have talked about, and I'm going to talk some more about it. So, a little throwback on Black history. So, everyone that wants to celebrate, continue to celebrate and elevate ourselves, take responsibility and accountability, and let's continue to read because reading really does open the mind to great opportunities and possibilities. With that said, I'm Louise Hicks again, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, inviting you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Aim to Purpose Radio. Give it a thumbs up, leave your comments. Please do. Visit my website again, louisehicks.com. And I thank you for the support that you've given me. Much love. And remember, I always leave you in parting. Your power lies within you. Let it loose because your destiny is your command. And keep that GPS system near, that God powered system. And this is the Mad Black Woman, motivated and determined to help to elevate our community to a higher level of consciousness. I'll see you all soon. Much love. Take care. And bye-bye for now.